of a talk of the Lubavitcher Rebbe on the portion of Noah. So I was thinking in general, it's nice for us to focus a bit on Noah, because that, of course, is a portion of Torah that we're told totally open, obviously, for every Noahide to learn more and more and more. This is your story. This is the story of man. This is the story of Noah. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe is focusing on one aspect, not the whole broad story, but one aspect and how it has personal relevance, which I wanted to share. And again, going into this thought of like, so why did we merit to be saved from the flood? It says, as Noah was in the ark, he was groaning. It was hard work. He spent a year taking care of the entire animal kingdom, every single animal that was saved. And God chose to save every single animal that exists today, including ones we say, why did God save that one? Oh, God knows that one's important for the ecosystem, even though we might not appreciate it. Every one of them God had to have in that ark, and every one of them Noah and his sons took care of for a year. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. They were in the ark for a year. And at one point it says that Noah was late in bringing the food to the lion, and the lion bit him. And so he was really in pain as he's going around, taking care from morning to night. These animals only eat early morning. These animals only eat late night. These animals need this. This animal needs this. So all day long, he's the ultimate zookeeper. And it was really hard, and he was in a lot of pain, and he's nursing this lion's bite at the same time. So the Rebbe takes this concept and sort of applies it allegorically to us in our life and says, here's Noah representing us, man. And he's working so hard, and he's getting, as we would say, no respect, no appreciation. And he's groaning away. He's like, listen, God, okay, I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this. And then they're biting me. They're smacking me. They're pushing me down. What am I doing this for? So sometime in our lives, we also can be working really hard and doing things for God. That's why we're working so hard, because this is the will of God. And we're really helping people, and we don't seem to get anything in return. Nobody seems to appreciate it, right? Like sometimes we can feel that with our kids. And sometimes you feel that with other people in the world, that you're working so hard, and this is the will of God, but it's hard, and there's no appreciation. There's no sense of recognition. There's no sense of like, wow, you're being so good that you're spending your whole day taking care of the animals. No, it's just work and work and work and work, and get downtrodden and downtrodden and downtrodden. I'm like, why do you have to do all? When we sometimes in our life can think like this, and can think that like, what am I doing this for? Why am I bothering? Well, I could look at Noach, could look at Noah, and I could say, well, look how hard he worked, and he didn't get any appreciation. I mean, literally, the lion bit him. He wasn't getting an appreciation from all these animals, but he stuck with it. He did what he had to do. He understood this was God's will, and he didn't stop, even when seemingly he wasn't getting all those beautiful blessings, right? So we were saying before that when you do the will of God and you see that bounty flowing on you, and it's so nice, and it's such an affirmation that you're doing the right thing. And of course, that's what makes sense. As the more you're synced in with God, the more life should be good. God's the source of all blessings. You're so close to him, the blessings flow. That's how it should be. And thank God, sometimes we see that. And sometimes we don't. Like Noah in the Ark. He was working hard. He didn't see in his day-to-day work this flow of blessings. It was hard. Sometimes we do God's will, and it's hard. And that's part of what we have to understand. Like you were saying before, in reference to the current events and the election, sometimes we see clearly, and sometimes we don't see clearly. And it's the same God. The same God. A few things to understand. One thing the Rebbe says is free handouts is not generally the path of God. It doesn't mean it's not sometimes. And sometimes we do receive so many blessings, and it does feel like just, I think free handouts is the wrong term for it. It feels like just this bounty flowing. And it makes sense the bounty's flowing because we're doing the will of God and the bounty flows. But sometimes we don't feel that bounty flowing because God says, I need you to work harder. I want you to work more. And God very often wants us to work more. And sometimes the work is trusting him. Like we were saying before, we have to trust. When it goes the way we want it to go, we're elated and God, 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 God. And when it goes the way we didn't want it to go, it's the same God, God, God. And we have to have that trust that this is also God and this is good. And we have to stick with you. And that very sticking with God when it doesn't seem to be going as we want, that could be the work. The work itself is that trust. There it says, so, but what could keep Noah going? When he's working so hard and he's suffering animal abuse and night in and day in and minute in and all, what kept him going? Well, he had a certain awareness. He was saved. The whole world got washed away and God saved him and his family. And the Rebbe is saying, we can take that same awareness in our lives because we live in very turbulent times. And there's a lot of floods out there that wash out people and pull people in various directions and pull down many things and make many things turn upside down, right, wrong, good, bad. There's a lot of floods that pull away at people, and a lot of people get swept away, get pulled under, drown. So when a person was saved from the flood, when the person has the anchor of a relationship with God, and they're not swept away by all these crazy waters that are washing and crashing and pulling seemingly at everyone, when you have that firm support, when you have that ark of God that's protecting you, that's something to always hold in your heart. That's something to always remember. Like, what do I have today to make me feel good so I don't have any renovation going on in my house, What do I have to make me feel good when I'm pulled down and when I don't feel good and when I'm tired or this aches or that aches or I have so much to do or my kids or my finances or my work? I'm saved from the flood. Why am I saved from the flood? Who am I to be saved from the flood? Look at the world. Look at the floods. Look at the craziness that's pulling at all these people, nice, good people, going in such insane directions. Why did God choose to save me? So I think this concept is so relevant for a Noahide because the numbers are totally against you. There's 8 billion mankind. I don't know how many Noahides there are, but a very teensy percentage. So the numbers are against you. So there's no reason in the world why you shouldn't have drowned in the flood like everyone else. And yet God saved you. There is a reason. One reason is, who knows who your ancestors were. Sarah nursed all the babies by the party when Isaac was weaned. That's relating to the Torah portion. And I right away thought of all the Noahides I know, because we know it says that every Noahide is a descendant of one of those babies, that all the noble women brought their babies to this big party of Abraham and the most important dignitaries in the world celebrating his son. And every woman forgot, as we said, the hearts, minds of the leaders in the hands of God. So God made every one of them forget their nursemaids. They didn't need formula in those days. They didn't have formula. They had nursemaids. And they forgot their nursemaids. And Sarah nursed every one of those babies to prove that truly Isaac was her son, and to take Sarah's milk and put it in the world. But not randomly in the world, in these children. That from these children, those children that drank from Sarah's milk, from their descendants would be the Noahide. So it's not random. There's a reason you were saved. Your ancestor drank from Sarah's milk. But that was a long time ago. And you could be, so why was it me and not my siblings? Not my mom or not my dad. I don't know which side it's on, but it was on one of their sides. And not my siblings and not my cousins and not my aunts and uncles. It was me uniquely. Why? God chose to save. God chose to save me. And we can't We can't always understand why God chose me specifically, but God knows what he's doing. It's never random. Meaning, I'm not, God forbid, diminishing anyone's free choice. I'm not diminishing anyone's personal work, not diminishing the self-sacrifices people have made to be Noachides. So obviously you're working, and obviously you're making choices, and obviously maybe other people were presented with the same opportunity and made different choices. Making choices, you're doing work, you're self-sacrificing, and yet God saves you from the flood. And the point the Rebbe is saying is, whatever else is going on in your life, you can always keep this in your heart. God saved me from the flood. Just as he's saying, I know this might sound disjointed because I skipped so many parts of the talk just to get to this bottom line point here, that Noah is groaning and it's hard, but Noah knew that God saved him from the flood. The whole world got washed away and God saved him from the flood. And if God saved him from the flood, that's always a perpetual reason to be grateful, to be joyous, to feel loved, to keep moving forward, to know whatever hard things you're going through, and we all have challenges. God loves us. God believes in us. God trusts us. God saved each one of us specifically for a reason. Each one of us was saved for a reason. There's something each one of us uniquely can give to God, can give to other people. Each one of us uniquely is going to be a billboard for God's light in the world. Who am I going to be a billboard to? I don't know. Your spouse, your children, your family, your neighbors, your colleagues. There's a reason you were saved. Well, maybe just God loves me so much. Yes, that too. But there's also, in some way, you have a part to play in God's ultimate point and purpose of all of creation, which is this world being his home, which is the reality of redemption, of Mashiach. And as I was just saying to someone this morning, I guess in another class I was giving, that specifically Noahides are such key players in bringing Mashiach because they represent the world far more than Jews do, right? The Noahides, the people of the world, their world. Jews are like, a little bit fakers, a little bit incognito, a little bit, the world. But I mean, so we fake out ourselves as well. We also think we're world, but a little bit hovering above. But man, this is the world. And Noahide, this is the world recognizing God, accepting God, proclaiming God as king, allowing God's kingship to shine through them and their choices and their life. So every single Noahide, God saved, and that's something to always have in your heart and always have in your mind, that sense of, and why did God save me? What does he want? What does he need from me? In what way can I uniquely help him? Be there for him? Because there's a reason. There's my ancestor, but then again, I have siblings, I have this, I have that. There's something uniquely every Noahide is doing. God doesn't make mistakes. Every Noahide is doing something that's really why you were saved from the flood. You ever think that, maybe putting it in different words, but why did I become a Noahide and not someone else? Or
Yes, definitely. I would have never thought that this would would be what I would be doing right now. So I'm very thankful for it.
Absolutely. I'm grateful too. I wouldn't have met Bob had I not been a Noahide.
that's true. That's true. That's true. And maybe Natalie and Danielle would have a different number of children if they were Noahides. And I definitely would say my life would be very different if I wasn't saved by God from the floods. So every one of us can look at our life and look at choices we've made and know we would have made far stupider choices if God didn't save us. Because once God saves us, we can sort of be more aligned with God's choices. And, otherwise we make our own choices and we follow the world that's telling us, everything that God tells us to do is what's best for us. But even though it's best for us, without God instructing, we wouldn't do it anyway. Like, there's so many simple examples. I think Danielle and I, we were talking recently about TV, right? When you were visiting me. I mean, I think any human being, when you tell them I don't have a TV in my house, they're like, wow, that's so cool. That's so wonderful. That's amazing. Well, you could do it too. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. So it's like, again, now obviously you can be Noahide and have a TV. I'm not saying you can't have a TV if you're Noahide. I'm just bringing as an example of something that like is good for you. Every rational person would think it's amazing, including all the, I don't know, initials of all the doctors of the world and all the this of the world and all the psychiatrists, and everybody would think it's a great idea, but go do it. But if you know this is God's will, you have a strength and a vision bigger than your own. And then you make a wiser choice. You make a in line with God choice. And then you're such a beneficiary. You're such a beneficiary of making those choices. You know, I think of my, thank God, many children. And if I wasn't saved from the floods, I don't think they'd be around. Not all 11 of them. So who's the beneficiary? I am. Who's gaining? Who's blessed? So it's such a blessing. Why wouldn't I do it on my own? You think I'm crazy? I wouldn't have done it on my own. But who's blessed? I'm blessed from it. It's my blessing. But it's my blessing that I wouldn't be wise enough to grab. And when we're in sync with God, He's helping us take our blessings. So when we think of God saving us from the flood, our choices, our self-sacrifice, our hard work, but God saving us from the flood, and we look at our life and we look at the choices that we're so grateful we made, but if we weren't in this relationship with God, we probably wouldn't have made them, or for sure we wouldn't have made them. And it's just it's something that could just keep this joy and contentment and gratitude in your heart as you're like, God, you chose me, you saved me, and you have something you want from me, and I hope I'm living up to it.
I feel that really strongly. And I'll just say, you mentioned like making choices and decisions back before, for me, for example, before I knew Torah, before I knew God. It's like I was making decisions on, I don't know, how I felt, what was legal or not legal. It's almost comical now, to think back, and some of it's not funny at all. But, you think back and you think, oh, how could I make these type of choices? It's so harmful. And unfortunately I didn't know at the time, but thank God that I know now. And I want everyone that I love and care about and everyone in the world to know, so that they don't make those type of choices or even worse choices.
And thank God that you're educating your children so they will know.
Yes, thank God.
That was a big pleasure I had last week. Thank you, Sabra. I got to see Danielle's children.
I'm so
That was so special. Yes, it was.
All in your merit.
Yeah, thank God.
And it was so special to see them, and so beautiful, and to know, they're being raised like, Danielle's children and Natalie's children, and it's very special to be raised with the awareness and the knowledge, and God willing to always make those good choices. But like Danielle said, you want to help everyone you know. You want to save everyone you know. You want to share it with everyone you know, and each one of us know different people. And I have that same feeling, of like, I especially when I see people pass away, and some people pass away, but they're, as I envision it, they're rich, they're bejeweled. They did so much for God during their lifetime. And of course, it's still a pain and it's a loss. It's a loss for me. It's a loss for the people left behind. But I know they're so jeweled. I know they so lived their life. And sometimes you see people passing away and they're leaving this world far more impoverished. And that's so much more painful. So much more painful. So like Danielle's saying, whenever we have an opportunity, and obviously some people are more receptive and some people are easier to talk to, and some people are like, don't start. And, and it's hard sometimes to find the right words and pull them out of your heart and know that when you say something from your heart and it's true, it does penetrate the other person's heart. And just believing that and saying, I wouldn't want redemption to come and all these people that love me would say, why didn't you tell me?
Aww.
You knew. And I'm like, I tried. You weren't interested. You told me to be quiet. You intimidated me. You cut me off. You knew you loved me. I thought you loved me. Why didn't you tell me? So that's, yeah, definitely every one of us has that in our own world. Who are those people that we would like to share this information with, that they should also have the jewels and the knowledge and making the right choices?